What's going on, everybody? So, big night. I've had people message me as soon as they found out that Garrick was coming back on. Super excited. Trying to break the internet with this. And for all of you out there who are listening, on Thursday, we're going to crash Morg's live stream. And we're just going to pepper him to basically look at the information that I share and give me a chance to basically blow Morg's mind. So, with that being said, my good friend Garrick. Hey, bud.
Hey, how's it going?
So, I got these text messages from you. Oh, also, what I'm going to show you tonight directly relates to the video you did, the most important video I will ever make. That's the one where I explain what God is. And you said, I think you're going to be so completely mind blown that you may need some time to process this information. And if I am correct in what I'm going to show you, there would be no need for you to have a Christian come on your channel to refute your work. After tonight, it might not be necessary. You could still have them on, but you'll have something entirely new to teach them, and it may force you to rethink your entire strategy and what you teach. Don't you just fucking love this buildup? And I do. It's fantastic. And you always deliver. And your series with me is one of the top two. It's you and Priscilla that basically fight for the most views. And I'm stoked. I mean, I don't know how much more you could push the envelope. I don't know how much more you could do, but I'm completely stoked. I took a hot shower. I'm sitting here with a condom on, just waiting to go, just in case something should happen. And we're ready to go. So where do we start? What's the deal?
Let's just jump right in. Why don't we? So I need to click on present, correct?
Yeah, you automatically have presenting options. I don't think StreamYard's annoying like Zoom.
Okay. And then I think with
StreamYard, I have to add it though. Hold on a sec, because I have
Sure.
it full screen right now. Yeah, just present it and then I'll add it.
Okay. Share screen. Okay, there we go.
Should be coming up soon. We've never had a problem with this. There we go. All right, hold on. There we go. What are we looking at?
And then do I need to move you out of the way so we're not...
You can do whatever you'd like to do. We have a pretty big screen right here.
Awesome. Okay, so...
Are we starting where we left off last time?
Not quite. If we can get to that at the end, then I want to go to that. But I think this kind of supersedes where we left off last time.
Okay, let's do it then.
Awesome. So I kind of want to go back for just a split second for people that have watched and just kind of go back and talk about something here for just a second, because it's going to lead into this next part. So in one of our videos, I demonstrated to you how the very first verse, and I have to look over here to see you.
Sheep bara Elohim et Hashemayim ve'et haaretz. Yes, I remember how the whole for people who remember this, how the et is Alpha and the Omega, and basically Bereshit, everything is in the first word, let alone the first sentence, right?
Correct. So yeah, the very first word alone, if we break that down, it talks about how God created everything. He set it in place. He means to cut it down using a covenant of fire, which is the head of his household, who is his son. And all that can be brought out of just this very first word.
Right.
So what I'm going to show you today is how the name of his son is encoded in this verse. So let's just jump over here real quick. So pull up my calculator here real fast. And let's just change it to a basic one so it's not scientific. All right, so on screen right here, let me zoom in. You're looking at Jesus
Jesus
Christ,
Christos.
correct, in Greek. So this, and I just want to do this just to prove to people that are watching. So I'm just going to copy that. And we're going to come over here to Google Translate, paste it in. And as you can see, it translates to Jesus Christ. In Gematria, it has a value of 2368. That's the standard value of that name in Gematria. So what number, if you recall, did I say started this whole entire thing for me?
1111.
There's one before that.
Oh. Hold on. I remember this. I could do this. Was it 3773? No, it wasn't that. Oh, it was 333.
333. So we know that this first verse has the value of 2701. Well, when you take 2368 and you add 333, we get 2701. So that was just like this sort of confirmation. I mean, everything is sort of a confirmation. It seems like these connections just keep popping
like
up.
At this point, do you do you get nervous when you're trying to work things out? You're like, I hope it'll work out, or at this point, are you just kind of like, of course it worked out?
It's kind of half and half. You know, I don't want to be super presumptuous and just, think everything's going to turn out in my favor, but but it seems to be doing so no matter what I do. So with that alone, I looked at this first verse and I decided to do an ELS skip. And I chose to use the number 3. I mean, why not?
Right.
333, it seems to make sense. So let me move this up a little bit. We'll move that up. So what I did was, instead of starting with the first letter, I went to the third. And then from here on, I counted every third letter. And I want you to see exactly how this begins to play out. So the third letter is Aleph. Okay, let's go ahead and just pop it in there. Now we're going to go 1, 2, 3.
And it's a Tuf, and Aleph is the first letter, and the Tuf is the last letter of the alphabet.
Exactly. So right at the very beginning of this, we're being shown the beginning,
and the end,
the alpha, the omega, and then the translation U. Now let's keep going. 1, 2, 3. Well, we're suddenly back to Aleph. I am. What does God refer to himself as? The great I am. Okay. Now, the next one. 1, 2, 3.
You know why I am? He's referred as I am.
Do I know why?
Yeah.
Or are you asking like...
I'm kind of hypothetically asking. Are you aware why I am? I am is the only set of words. I am proves existence. Everything else, God is the infinite. Everything is a part of God. We are all part of God. Everything is, this is a part of God. Nothing exists outside the infinite. I've explained this so many times before. I am is the only thing that answers that. Because then you start questioning where God came from, where God is, why God exists at all, why we exist at all. These are all questions within infinity. I am just proves existence, and that's all that is needed to happen, because any question that you would have is a question within existence and thus cannot explain outside of existence. But I am, that's it. I am.
You're exactly right. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you. And it's going to prove what you're saying. And it's also going to force you to question what you're saying. So the next letter is Hey. Now, this letter has a meaning all of its own. Okay. So in order to demonstrate that, I'm just going to have to hit return. So I go to the next line. And I'm going to type it in. And you're going to see exactly what the translation of that, just that single letter by itself. And look what it says on screen.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you getting familiar with the Hebrew alphabet? Is that how you know where the letters are?
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting closer and closer.
I mean, you're picking the right letters out. So, yeah, okay. I am God. Wow. Okay.
I am God. It's literally telling us right in the very beginning of this. Now, let's put the letter back up with the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put a space before that.
And the word is atah.
And we get I am the. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to keep going. So we go 1, 2, 3. We're back to Aleph again.
Mm-hmm.
It changes back to I am. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And I can't remember what this one's called.
It's a shin.
Okay. Now look at
Oh
this.
my God. It literally is going to spell out Atah Hashem.
And look at the translation. I am the fire. Now, think about the first word. It's talking about a covenant of fire, and the covenant being his son. But this is saying, I am the father, or not the father, but the fire. So let's keep going here. 1, 2, 3, and I don't remember what that one's called either, but I'm going to pop it in there. And it suddenly says, I am the culprit, but we're not done.
Okay.
So from here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're
Mm-hmm.
back to Tav. I am the fire again. And then lastly, 1, 2, 3, we land on Resh. I will hide the fire. Now think about everything that's just shown us. It started out with you, and then suddenly I am, and then I am the fire. And now it's talking about I will hide the fire. Now, if the fire is referring to the sun, S-U-N/S-O-N,
Mm-hmm.
and it's saying, I will hide the fire, that's exactly what's being done here, because Jesus is hidden within this verse. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So to demonstrate that, we need to come right here, and we're going to copy that text. And let's just get rid of this first. Paste it in, and we're going to remove the space. And suddenly we get his name. Well, his name is encoded right in this. Okay.
I think if I'm right, I can't remember that letter though. I think it's Shemet though. I might be. No, hold on. Shemesh. I think it's Shemesh. Shamash. It's the fire. Yeah.
So let's move over to the Gematria calculator again, just here real quick, because I want to show you how it's like it's a puzzle, and it leads me in certain directions. There's things I recognize, and then there's things that make me question, okay, like this is almost like an Indiana Jones adventure. You have to know how to work the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to paste this in.
I've been talking to you behind the scenes through text messages for a while to find the primer.
This I think this is getting close.
Mm-hmm.
So look at the sum. It's 396.
Mm-hmm.
396. Keep that in mind for just a moment. So I decided to do another ELS skip just on this portion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Starting with the first letter, I decided to keep it, and we're going to do a skip of 2. So I'll go 1, 2, then 1, 2. That means we need to remove this letter and this letter. Now we have this word, it's shoe. That's how it's pronounced. I can even shoe. But I want you to look at this, and I want you to look at it here. And I know that these letters is not the value of 396. That's why I'm saying this is like a puzzle. Okay. So I have the exact same letters here that I had over here.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to look at these letters and look at them as though they're representing 396, what do we need to do to this to change it to another number that's come up quite frequently in this code, which is 369.
Oh my God, I see what you're doing. So here's what you do. Do you want to explain it, or can I?
Go ahead and you go ahead.
Here's what you're doing. This says shoe. The 369, you would have to transpose the yud, the second letter, and the shin, the first letter. If you switch them, it becomes yud, shin, and it becomes Yeshua.
Oh, crap. Well, let me just type it in here. Whoops. I do that every single time. I accidentally delete it. It actually translates it to Jesus.
369.
Yeah.
You're talking about, oh my God, you could talk about Nikola Tesla, the 369.
Yes, and his famous quote: "If you only understood the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, you would hold a key to the universe." Now, like I said, it's like a puzzle. I saw that. I recognized 396 because it's very similar to 369. Like it just stood out to me.
Right.
And then when I did that ELS skip and it brought it down to 3 letters, and I looked at it and I said, "Holy shit. Am I supposed to swap those two?" And that's exactly what I did. And I almost shit my pants when that name popped up because literally the text before it said his name, Jesus. It's right there.
I think the condom's getting full.
Oh, well, you're going to blow that condom right off here in just a little bit. So I have been working on something else, and you're quite aware of what I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've done is, let's switch to this. So there are, in the Torah, the first 5 books, there are 304,805 letters that make up the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
That means that 304,805 can be divided equally 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that we would get 5 equal rows of 60,961 letters.
Right.
They're perfect. There's not one off. There's not one missing from any single line.
Right. No, that's standard math. Of course you would do that. In Kabbalah, they teach, and I'm not really that deep into Kabbalah, to be honest with you. I have kind of my own work that I'm doing. It's fascinating though. The proper way to actually read the Torah, to read the Bible, at least the Old Testament in Hebrew, is one long strand of letters. Just one endless strand of letters. Not breaking it up, not any of that. One long strand. It's a DNA. It's a living book. It's a code.
Exactly.
Like, as wild as people tell me that my decodings are, I'm literally bringing an equally poignant, if not crazily deeper way to look at it through you.
Yeah. Well, it's going to get deep.
Yeah. Okay.
Real quick. So let's look at this real fast. 60961 can be reduced to the number 22. 22 is a master number.
Yes.
It's also the equivalent of 11 plus 11. Or we have 1111.
Right.
11 is also a master number.
Yes.
You don't reduce those numbers.
No.
So, knowing that these can reduce to 22, there's 5 lines. 22 times 5 equals 110, which is the equivalent of 37 plus 73, or 3773.
Right.
We know that the first verse, the value of it is 2701, and when you add the mirror opposite, it is 3773. It all keeps coming back. It all keeps coming back. Now, so looking at the Torah, so here it is. I have it on the screen here. Right now, I have the Bible at, let's see, at a width of 500. So if I switch this to 60,961, we can see that we get 5 equal lines.
Right.
Okay. As I started going through this, and let me switch to keys to the Bible as well. I was just looking through this and I began to see patterns taking place. Okay. And you know about this. But I went to the, just like, was for whatever reason, I was at the very end because I wanted to make sure that it was the complete Torah, the first 5 books. And that's when I started noticing this pattern. I noticed that Aleph and Aleph were stacked on top of each other. And I can't remember what this letter's called. But it was, I'm sorry, what was it?
I think it's hold on.
I can make it larger if you need. Went the wrong
I think it's
door?
an ion. It's called an ion.
Okay. So I noticed that those were stacked, and then it was stacked again, and then we had Aleph over here, and I was like, So I began counting the letters in between. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
And then over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Let me just jump in real quick and explain something. Because you have 5 equidistant lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want you guys to realize this is not a section of the Bible. The top line is from a book in the Bible. The next line down would be from a very different place in the Bible, as will the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th line. These have no business making patterns. They're not even the same books.
Exactly. And then we have the equal space here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So I was like, oh, that's just interesting. And then as I began looking at it, I was like, well, look up here. These numbers are stacked. These numbers are stacked. So I started going through and looking. And what ended up happening is I found, now think about this. You have to really think about this. We have 5 horizontal lines.
Right.
We have 5 books of the Torah.
Yes.
I found 5 vertical lines where the letters are going all the way across all 5 lines. Okay. To demonstrate that, let's the first letter that I found was Resh. It starts at 508. And let's see here. We're getting close. It's
there
right
here. Wow.
All the way down. All the way down. This happened 5 times. Now, the letters that I found that do this are Resh, Hey, I think it's Aleph.
Yep.
Hey, or not, I did Aleph here, but it's Aleph here. Hey again. And then is it Yud? Is that how you pronounce it?
So it's...
It doesn't appear to say anything.
Well, hi. No, it doesn't really say anything now. First of all,
you had it right.
We're high, right?
Yeah. So if we do Resh, Hey, Aleph, Hey, Yud, Rah, it's like Rahai. It made no sense to me. I was like, okay, whatever. But look at this. So there's 2 identical letters.
Right.
2 identical letters are the letter that makes up God. Okay.
Yud Hey. Vav Hey. There's no Vav though, but it's Yud Hey.
Well, look what we get when we remove. So think of this as like God within. Okay. But look what happens if we take God out. We get sight. Okay. The vision to see.
The word in Hebrew, that's Ray.
Yeah. Well, it translates to sight. We get mirror, looking glass, spectacle, sight, vision.
Right.
It's all about our eyes opening up to what's happening here. Now, let's say that we're going to rearrange Hey and surround the sight with God. So let's put Hey at the end and Hey at the beginning. The evidence. The evidence.
Wow. Ha-ray. Ha-ray. Yeah, that's what it says.
Now check.
Okay.
check this out. Let's copy that and go over here to the Gematria calculator again. Paste it in. Now, I want you to look at something. So I'm going to zoom in on these letters. So we have 221. 2 plus 2 plus 1 is
5.
4 and 1 is
5.
1 and 4 is
5.
Yep. 6 and 5 is 11 plus 3 is 14. 4 and 1 is 5. 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5. 4 plus 1 is 5. We have six strings of numbers here that reduce to 5.
The fifth letter in Hebrew is Hey.
Yeah. Now look here. We have 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11.
So you don't reduce that. 11.
So we have 11, 11, and 11.
Right.
So look at this. 6 times 5. So we have 6 strings of letters here that reduce to 5. 6 times 5 is 30. 30 reduces to what?
3.
Just 3. We have 3 sets of numbers here that are 11. You don't reduce it. So 11 3 times is what?
33.
When you combine those together, what do you have? 3, 3, 3. We're not adding. We're not subtracting. We're just combining them.
Wow.
Now, here is the other strange thing. That string of letters I found, Resh, Hey, Aleph, Hey, Yud.
Yeah.
I found them in that exact order across all 5 lines, and they appeared on line 37,428.
Stop. Really?
Straight down. Okay? Think about something. What happens with the 1111 matrix code? It goes up and down by the number 37. The numbers at the beginning, the numbers at the end. They go up and down by the number 37.
Right.
Now look at the last 3 numbers. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 8 is 14. And it's back to 5. Now, the other thing about the number 37 is, let's go back to where we had oh no, that's wrong. Where we had Jesus.
Technically Yeshua. It's Yeshua, but yeah.
Yeah. So let's come in here, paste it in. The ordinal value is 37.
Wow.
Okay. With that being said, because Resh was the first letter that I found that did this, right? Where all the Resh was all across all 5 lines.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to here and I began looking at the letter Resh. We have it here and we have it here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters in between those 2.
Mm-hmm.
We have it again down here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we start with this one right here and we do an ELS skip of 5, let's show you what's going to happen. So we have Resh. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Those are Yud.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There's a Shin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Aleph. Holy shit.
See what it says? It's encoded twice. Now, if we take the letters from here where it said his name, paste them in. His name is Lord Jesus. Encoded right there in the first verse of Genesis.
I've got no words.
It's going to get deeper here. So, with this in mind, I began looking and really contemplating, what does this mean? What do these letters stretching across all 5 lines, what is it trying to say? What is it? What's symbolically, like, it seems to be telling us something. What is it telling us?
Right.
And I went back, remember when I was doing the decoding and I got that message that came through that said the string is missing 1111.
Yeah, that's when you had the 2 towers and you were reading them
Vertically. And then I figured out, well, I need to be reading them from right to left.
Right.
But that string with those 2 columns, when it said that the string is missing 1111, it started this thinking in my head about string theory, dimensions, multiple universes. And I began to wonder, is this possibly beginning to show us the first 5 dimensions? And how, because it's showing this letter is existing across all 5 at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Suggesting
that would make sense. The first, yeah. Okay. I can see what you're talking about.
It could also be representing, too. I've been talking, just to let you know, you're getting the exclusive. I haven't even shown this on my channel yet. Okay. The only other person who knows any of this is my brother. Okay.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So with that in mind, let's begin to look at the different dimensions. So we have to, there's 11, but we have to start with the 0 dimension. The 0 dimension. So a point is a prime example of the 0 dimension. It exists without length, width, or height. A 0-dimensional being cannot move in any direction, meaning it is fixed to a specific point and cannot move beyond that point.
Did you happen to take what you're about to show me from a explained 11 dimension video on YouTube?
I've watched many different videos and like been just gathering information from all over the place.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I mean, if some of this comes from that, I mean, it's just from me doing.
No, I understand. No, the reason I ask is because there's one that starts off that exact same way. So I was wondering if you just found that. That's all.
Oh, really? Okay. So then we look at the first dimension, which is a straight line as an example of the first dimension. It exists with only length and does not have width or height. So a first dimensional being can only move in one direction, which would be on a straight line. Okay. The second dimension, a single sheet of paper, is a great example of the second dimension. It exists with length, width, but no height. So the motion of a second dimensional being would be restricted to just this plane surface. In other words, it would not be capable of moving up and down. The third dimension, a sphere, cube, cuboid, pyramid, triangular, prism, cylinder. These are all great examples of the third dimension. They all exist with length, width, and height. A being, such as ourselves, would be able to move freely within the third dimension.
Can I mention something to you real quick before we go to the fourth dimension?
Sure.
There is a book that was written in, I think it was 1895. It's called Flatland. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before.
Yeah, I have heard of it.
Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but I've heard of the book. Yeah.
It's like $6 on Amazon. Get it.
Okay.
It's the best story. This is 1895, by the way. And it's about a square living in a 2-dimensional plane, and he gets shown the third dimension, and then he basically goes back to the second dimension and tries to tell everyone they're crazy, they don't know what they're looking at, and they call him crazy. It's a crazy book, but definitely everyone who's listening, it's a few bucks, get Flatland. It's a really good story, and it's an allegory for the politics at the time. However, it is very deeply encoded with this kind of stuff. It's a good basis for you guys.
Well, I'll have to get a copy of that. I just spent almost $500 on books. I have like a whole stack over here.
You know, we also have 3 dimensions metaphysically. We have the plant kingdom. This is the first dimension. You have the animals. That's the second. And you have the humans. That's the third.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry. Go on. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, so that's the third dimension. Let's move to the fourth dimension. So time is considered to be the fourth dimension.
Yes.
A being that exists in the fourth dimension would be able to move freely in time dimension, would have full control over time. Therefore, they would be able to move in any direction within the time dimension. In other words, they would be able to travel to the past and to the future. A being living in the fourth dimension can go to any point in time and change its decision. If you were to view the fourth dimension from a geometrical point of view, then a hypercube, also known as a tesseract, would be a great example of that.
Right.
The fifth dimension. A being in the fifth dimension is able to move freely in time, both forwards and backwards. And if they so choose to do so, they can exist in multiple locations simultaneously. I can't even say that word, simultaneously.
Right.
So that leads right back to these letters appearing at the same time across, like you mentioned earlier, across different books. They should not be lining up this way, but they do. So, I
make this point all the time. I say time becomes what's known as fluid in higher dimensions when we leave the fourth dimension, or the third density, as it's called, and we raise. And a lot of us will raise to the next dimension where we shed our body and we're no longer. Time exists moving forward in this dimension because it has to. You can't be born a baby and then grow without time. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
There's no existence, doesn't exist on this plane without time. And when you leave a place with time, it's fluid. You can move forward and backward. So just like he says right here, you could be whoever you are now, and then your next life could be in the past. It's really hard for people to grasp that, but your next life could be in the past.
Exactly. But in the fifth dimension, so if you so chose to do so, you could exist in multiple locations simultaneously. So in other words, you could exist in the year 2023 as a rock star, while at the exact same time, you could exist in the year 1723 as a starving peasant.
That's right.
Okay. Parallel universes exist in the fifth dimension. Therefore, all your different existences can exist in multiple parallel dimensions within the fifth dimension, all having separate timelines.
Right.
But there's the one limiting factor in the fifth dimension. You cannot meet one of your other versions of yourself by using shortcuts to a different timeline in a parallel universe.
That's correct. That is correct.
Now, for some reason, when I began looking at this, it began to remind me of our stages of life, the first dimension. So birth. When you think of just, and this is just like symbolically, okay?
Right.
When you think of the zero dimension, think of like the female egg is just a point in time.
Yes.
The male sperm is just a point in time. That would be like the zero dimension.
Right.
Those two come together and you have 2 points, which become the first dimension when those begin to connect. As the child begins to develop, we can't witness the child's development outside the body. We can only do so when it's inside the body through a computer monitor or a sonogram printed out, and that therefore represents the second dimension, a flat surface. Then when the child is born, they become, in our eyes, visually, we know they're third dimension inside the body, but I'm just saying symbolically, when they're born, they're born into the third dimension.
You know what's interesting too?
What's that?
Genesis 1:3 says, "Let there be light." Do you know what happens when a sperm meets the egg? Well, technically, when the sperm meets the egg. Okay, so a lot of people don't know this. They think that it's the sperm that gets there the fastest that actually impregnates the egg, but that's not true at all. The egg actually physically chooses which sperm to let in. The egg makes the decision. So whatever the sperm is, yes, the sperm carries the gender, but the egg picks the sperm. And when the egg finally picks the sperm and the sperm goes and starts to go in, a flash of light goes off inside the woman's body.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then when you think about that, you talked about in this dimension, or this, not this, but our reality right now, we're only able to move forward in time. From the moment we're born, every second that passes, we are only moving forward. We cannot move backwards. Right. But symbolically, we reach a certain point in our life where we do seem to go backwards in time, mentally, physically. When we get to a point where we're so old that we can no longer wipe our own asses, we're shitting in diapers, and our mental state's going haywire. It's like we're reverting back to the state of a child. It's almost like we're going back in time.
It is. I mean, why do you think the Sphinx's riddle was the riddle that it was?
There you have it.
So for people who don't know what it is, even though I'm assuming that you all do, the Sphinx's riddle would allow people to pass if it could answer the question. Otherwise, the Sphinx would kill it. The question was, and it was only one question, what has 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 1 leg at night? No, 3 legs at night, sorry. And the answer is man. Yeah. Because you crawl on all 4s in the morning / the beginning. You walk on 2s during midday. And then in the evening, when you're old, you have a cane.
Yep.
And that was the riddle of the Sphinx. So yeah, it was saying that too, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course, we have the 5th dimension, which symbolically would be that moment of death. Mm-hmm. So we go through birth, childhood, adulthood, senior, or old age, and then death. Mm-hmm. Now, let's look at the 6th dimension. So in the 6th dimension, you have the exact same abilities as you do in this.
That's supposed to say 5th, but it's okay.
Yeah, let me change that real quick. I was going super fast when I was building this. So, okay, so you'd have the same abilities as you would in the 5th dimension. You can see all the pasts, presents, and futures of all the parallel universes with one limiting factor. All the parallel universes must share the same beginning, the beginning point, or what is known as the initial condition. So, the moment God created everything, the Big Bang, whatever you want to call it, that initial condition, they must all start from that point. Mm-hmm. However, you no longer have the limitation. Jesus, I just went through crazily and putting crap in there. So you no longer have the limitations of the 5th dimension, meaning you can quantum jump from the current timeline of your universe to any point in the timeline of any parallel universe and meet any version of yourself. And your multiple versions can live their lives in parallel universes simultaneously.
You know, they say we do experience that. You ever heard of someone say they dodged the bullet when it comes to someone? Mm-hmm. Every time we make a choice, every time we make a decision, and Robert Frost's, I think it's Frost, the road less traveled, or the fork in the road, right? Whenever you make a decision, you branch off into a new universe, and you're co-creating your reality. And you can see it sometimes because you could be like, whoa, I dodged that bullet. But in another reality, you're with that person. Mm-hmm. And you keep making these decisions that change. So we co-create our universe, our reality. And people need to realize that. That's why it's always important to be positive and to just be loving and to just put your best self forward and not fall temptation to your addictions. So, but go on. I'm sorry.
Well, there's a story. I'll tell you this very quickly. And I heard this on, I want to say it was Jim Harold's campfire. And a man called in. He was talking about this experience that he had when he was a kid. He came home from school. His parents were at work. He came in. He did the exact same thing that he did every day. So he came in. He went down the hallway, put his book bag and whatever into his room, and then he came out and he was going to go back to the kitchen and make himself a snack. When he came around the corner of his bedroom into the hallway, he saw a man standing in his kitchen with his back to him. And he just froze because he thought, holy shit, someone's broken in. There's an intruder.
Right.
The man turned around and looked at him with like a surprised expression on his face. And then the man just disappeared out of nowhere. So fast forward into the future, this guy's now grown up. He's an adult. He managed, I can't remember if the house stayed in the family or if he was able to go back and repurchase his childhood home. But regardless, he was living as an adult in the exact same house he grew up as a kid.
Right.
He came home from work. He put his stuff away. He was in the kitchen making himself dinner. He turned around and looked down the hallway, and there was a boy standing at the end of his hallway with this expression of surprise on his face. And then within just a few seconds, the kid disappeared. They were one and the same, but for a brief second in time, they were existing together, the past version and the future version of each other.
And that's how it's done. That's how it's done. See, the universe, what people don't seem to understand, and I talk about this with my work. I talk about this when I'm blowing smoke in your ass when you're not around, about your work, when I talk about everybody that I host on my channel. What I talk about basically is that the universe is built on principles and laws. The law of karma, mathematics, these are all laws that are built upon. So if you're interpreting something, and I don't care what it is, and you have to jump through hoops to get to your conclusion, or to get to a conclusion, and it's incredibly complicated, there's a good chance you're looking at it the wrong way. Because the truth is that extraordinarily complex things can be explained to a child. That's what Einstein said. If you can't explain what you're talking about to a child, you don't fully understand it. And that's what I try to do with my work. I try to really start at the beginning and then kind of gradually kick you in the ass along so we can get more complicated things. I know that's what you do too. But yeah, if things seem so discoordinated and out of place, everything makes sense. There is a unifying physics equation to the creation of the universe. We just don't have it yet. And it is a sentence long.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's move forward here. So let's go to the seventh dimension. And this is the one that really starts to kick in and kind of begins to change everything. So a being in the seventh dimension would have all the abilities that they possessed in the sixth dimension. And here's the kicker. And they can have infinite forms of themselves. And they can move from one universe to any other universe. And unlike the sixth dimension, seventh dimensional universes can have originated from different start conditions. So let's think about this for just a second. Infinite forms of themselves. This is going to start to sound completely off the wall. But when you really stop and think about it, what does infinite mean? It's limitless.
Right.
You just said it a second ago. God is all around us. God is this object. God is whatever. But so would any being that exists in this dimension. They could be a human just like you and I. They could be literally, you could be me and I could be you.
Well, I say that all the time. This is why, guys, this is why in the holy texts they tell you this stuff. You just don't know how to read it. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but I'm just telling you, this is why people can't read this. People don't understand this. The total amount of consciousness in the universe is one. The only difference between what I think I am of myself and what Garrick thinks he is of himself is the five senses that we have.
Perception.
Maybe his eyes are better than mine. Maybe, the hearing is better or whatever. Maybe someone's colorblind. We perceive the reality that we're co-creating differently. But there is no difference between me and you. That's why in the Quran, 532, they tell you any man who has taken a life of somebody who has not committed manslaughter or something of that nature, it's as though he's killed the whole world. And anyone who saved a life, it's as if he saved the whole world. Well, look at it from this point of view. if you save a life, it's as if you've saved all of humanity, because we are all one.
Mhm.
And I go deep into this in my first book. I didn't quite have the answer then, but I did go into it deeply, where I explained, creationism, or the creationism, their view, aliens placing us here, evolution, how we all had to start at one. It all goes back to that, and we are all still one.
Right. Yeah. Well, where people will begin to, or some people, I guess I should say, will begin to lose the grasp of this concept is when you begin to explain to them that infinite forms means anything. So I, in a different dimension, could be, this cell phone.
Yeah.
I could be this pen. I could be a rock. I could be nothing more than a single hair.
Now, how's that possible, guys? How can a consciousness be an inanimate object? Well, it's very simple. If you understand hermetics, if you understand what Hermes Trismegistus, the quantum hermetica, what these hermetic principle taught us, what's the third principle of Hermes? The third hermetic principle. Everything is vibration. Everything vibrates, nothing rests still. Everything vibrates. This looks like a dead piece of weight, but it actually is vibrating at a certain length. Vibration is energy, and energy is God. And it's just that simple. Everything
Well,
is.
a different way of looking at it is think of the earth when it was formed. Okay.
Right.
Everything that you're looking at right now didn't exist when the earth was formed.
Right.
Your house, your clothes, you, nothing. Everything that is in front of you came from the earth. Your computer, glass, plastic, wood, your car. I mean, cameras, everything. It came from the earth.
Yep.
Okay. Now, with this being said, this is where I said that having a Christian come on your channel to refute your work
Right.
may not be necessary, because the Bible talks about the Son of God. Our research is pointing towards the sun in the sky. But in one of these dimensions, Jesus quite literally could have been a man. And he quite literally could have been the sun in the sky. And not only Jesus, but you, me, everyone, in one of these infinite dimensions, you could have been Jesus, the man, or you could have been Jesus, the son. So when a Christian comes on and they're like, no, Jesus was a man, and we're sitting here saying, no, it's pointing to the sun, we are both equally correct. Equally so. If we can have unlimited forms, you could be anything. And those vibrations of those universes, what I think may be happening is all these dimensions are literally sitting right on top of one another. They're vibrating at different frequencies. And at times,
exactly what it is. You have to let go of the idea. You ever wonder why space is so outrageously, absurdly large? It's supposedly 93 billion years across. Now, the universe started, 15 billion years ago, according to evolutionists? If you understand time dilation and how things speed up, then it makes sense. But when it comes down to it, and you're talking about other dimensions, you got to let go of the idea that something is over there, God is over there, things are over there. They tell you it's inside you. The kingdom of heaven is inside you. Jesus tells you this.
Yeah.
And I would agree that in one dimension, Jesus Christ would literally have been the case. But here's the thing. We are all Jesus Christ. That's what you have to understand. We are all Jesus Christ. We are all sons and daughters of God. There is no difference between God. We are the children in the same way that people have children. And those children are half your DNA. So they're literally part of you. They might even look like you. They might even act like you. They probably do. And then that's your problem. But at the end of the day, They're half of you, but you experience them subjectively outside. That's what we are. We're a part of God.
Yeah.
And we're made in God's image.
Exactly. Which we're going to get to in just a second. So, but yeah, I mean, let's just kind of that whole thought, you know, when I talk about these dimensions existing one on top of the other, and they're all vibrating at different frequencies, there could have been a moment when, like in the Bible, the talking donkey, there could have been a moment when the dimension where that talking donkey existed vibrated and just happened to meet the exact same point of where we are now. And that donkey literally could have been a talking donkey. I know it sounds ridiculous, but
No, it doesn't. Everything's on the table.
Yeah,
Remember, there's infinite things.
exactly. There's infinite forms. I mean, as ridiculous as it sounds, there could be some dimension somewhere where this phone has the ability to talk.
Right. Everything is on the table. But what we have to do is we can't get lost in that.
Exactly.
What we have to do is we have to focus on this reality. Because if you don't focus on this reality, and I tell my people, Jesus Christ, I tell my supporters on this channel, I say, if you're going to go into the esoteric like I do, or like Garrett does, or what you got to do, you have to understand something, is that you're accessing higher levels of cognition. You're using both sides of your brain. And you have to understand is when you do that, you can discover some wild things that could send you off the deep end. And what you have to do if you're going to start getting into this kind of stuff, or you're going to start sharing it with people, is you have to do things that ground you. Go outside, walk barefoot, look at a candle, meditate, do things like that. You have to, because it's a way to keep you grounded, because this reality, despite everything that's wrong with it, is what we're all living in right now, and you can't fly away. That's the truth.
Exactly. Because as this continues, and you'll see as this continues, when we look at the rest of these dimensions, what you just said about getting lost in this train of thought is exactly true. Because most people we can conceive of certain things, but most people can't comprehend the things that they can, that they can think of. Like, and when I mean comprehend, we have no idea, because we've never, in my current state, me right now that I'm aware of, has existed in the seventh dimension. I can't comprehend having unlimited versions of myself.
Well, it's not even that. You can't disassociate. You can't even think about yourself without having a body.
Exactly.
You can't even picture being without this meat suit that you got to feed and do shit with.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's look at the eighth dimension.
Yes.
So the eighth dimension has a plane of all possible pasts, presents, and futures for all the infinite number of parallel universes. According to string theory, in the eighth dimension, objects do not have any physical existence. An example of this would be our digital world. In a digital world, we cannot touch any object. We can only see and hear them. In the eighth dimensional world, things can change shape and size. They can also appear and disappear instantly. And a better example of this would be virtual reality. When you put on your goggle headset in a virtual world, you can see everything, but you cannot physically touch it.
Right.
Now, my brother asked me the other night, most people know, some don't, but I also do ITC, which is instrumental transcommunication, attempting to communicate with spirits. I've sent you some pictures of some stuff I've captured, but I've also done digital recordings. I have a recording in which I believe I am speaking to my father. I believe it's my father who is, because I asked very controlled questions.
Right.
And the responses were accurate. My brother asked me, he goes, do you think that is dad from this world communicating to you from another dimension? And I said, it's possible, because all things are possible. But here's the kicker. What if that version of dad that's communicating to me is actually a version in which I am my own father and I'm communicating with myself. The other thing, I have said repeatedly that this information seems to be coming to me from a divine source. I don't know what makes me think of certain things. Try out certain things. Just like what I showed you earlier with the ELS skips. Just seeing what happens.
Yeah, I'm completely blown away by how you do any of that. I mean, at least when it comes to my work, my cipher is like fixed, so I just have to apply it. But I don't envy you, man. I mean, it's got to be mind blowing all the time. But I mean, to know where to go next is crazy.
But here's the kicker: what if I am literally communicating with myself? I'm the one sending this information to me from some other dimension.
It's possible.
It's possible. It's very, very possible. And it waited until a certain point in my current life where I was able to start receiving the information and trying to make sense of it. Okay, the ninth dimension. In the ninth dimension, universes may have their own laws of physics in separate conditions. Now, let me jump back actually to the seventh dimension here. So by us saying that in the seventh dimension, the seventh dimensional universes can have originated from different start conditions.
Mm-hmm.
That means in one of these infinite dimensions, the beginning is not the same. The Torah may not even actually exist.
Right.
The Bible may not even exist at all.
Well, that's more of a given.
Yeah.
It's more of a given.
Yeah. So in one of these other dimensions, religion, if it exists, could be completely different. Completely different. They could be worshiping an entirely different God with an entirely different set of rules and a different set of tools in which to learn about God the way that we are doing right now.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry for that.
No, not at all. Please.
Okay. So in the ninth dimension, universes may have their own laws of physics and separate conditions and probabilities of their origin. In the ninth dimension, many civilizations, including those of extraterrestrial origin, may live simultaneously at the exact same time and may be completely unaware of the other's existence. Right now, there could be some other being standing right next to you in their own dimension, unaware of you, and you're unaware of it, but it's in the same space that you're sitting right now.
Absolutely. Just vibrating differently.
Just vibrating differently. And there are times if those vibrations moving at different beats or whatever just happen to cross for a split second, that could explain why we see apparitions, why people walking down the street of London turn a corner and suddenly they're in the 18th century, and can explain why they're seeing, carriages and people dressed differently, and then suddenly it just changes back.
I mean, it could explain deja vu too.
Exactly. Okay, so a being who exists in the ninth dimension will have no physical form, as one is simply not needed at that level. And they can move freely in space and time within any of the other universes. Now, the 10th one. A being living in the 10th dimension would possess infinite powers. For example, it would be possible for them to manipulate space-time and everything that exists in all the infinite number of universes. Because of these godlike abilities, some researchers suggest that God lives in the 10th dimension. So then what's beyond that? The 11th dimension. According to string theory, everything in every dimension and parallel universe is made up of infinitely small, one-dimensional vibrating loops called strings. Each string vibrates in 11 dimensions. Even subatomic particles like electrons, protons, and neutrons are made up of these strings that rotate and vibrate at the speed of light. The particular manner of this vibration of strings is responsible for the characteristics of each subatomic particle. The mere size of just one of these strings is infinitely small. It is so small that it would be to the order of 10 to the power of minus 33 centimeters. Or in other words, a millionth of a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a centimeter. And we can't even begin to comprehend that.
No, I mean, the closest thing we have right now, and it's not even close, is the Planck level. At the subatomic level, you have the Planck level at the micro, and also there are things smaller than electrons, protons, and neutrons. They break
Oh
down.
Yeah. Much. Like, I was just throwing those
they
out.
Break down, yeah, they break down into like quarks. Then you have top, bottom, charmed, strange. I forget the other two, but yeah, we just keep finding things that are smaller.
Yeah, infinitely smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Now let's look at something here. So Aleph, the very first letter of the alphabet.
Right.
The beginning.
Right. Okay. And I see here that you actually literally spelled out Aleph.
You're absolutely correct. So when you spell it out, it actually has a translation, which is 1,000. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, when you take Jehovah, so we have Yud He Vav He.
Yeah, some will say Yahweh, Jehovah.
Yeah.
Jehovah.
The Gematria value for each one of these letters. So Yud is 10, He is 5, Vav is 6, He is 5. So we get a total of 26.
Yep.
When you square these numbers out, so 10 squared is 100, 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36, 5 squared is 25. We get a total of 186. When you multiply 186 by 1,000, we get the speed of light.
Jesus. You know, there's theoretical particles in physics right now. They're called tachyons. And what a tachyon is, so the idea is, and I think I've explained this before, but I can't remember. My brain is shot. As you accelerate an object to the speed of light, its mass becomes infinite. It becomes heavier and heavier and heavier, and it takes more energy to push it. As it's right on the speed of light, it would take an infinite amount, so it can never do that. But these hypothetical particles, they already move faster than the speed of light. And the interesting thing is the laws are reversed past the speed of light. So just follow me, guys, for a second. Remember, as you're going towards the speed of light, your mass becomes infinite. But as you're past the speed of light and you're a tachyon, the faster you go, the less energy you need to move that far. It's an inverse. It's a perfect inverse. And I have a feeling we're going to discover those in our lifetime. If it's not by CERN, it's going to be by some other thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, to kind of wrap this up, what this seems to be representing is the first 5 dimensions. Okay. But what happens when we
make it 11?
Nope.
No?
Nope. What happens if we make the width 5? And now we get 5 vertical lines that are 60,961 characters.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
And we begin the process of, I began going through, and guess how many letters I found that exist this way, being 5. So the first one I found was Bet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right here. It was found in Deuteronomy 14:26. I found 6 letters that do this. So 6 going vertically and 5 going horizontal. 6 and 5 is 11. That would be all 11 dimensions. And when we look at these 5 columns in both directions, horizontal and vertical, and we line them up, what do we get?
The cross.
The cross. The symbol that came at the very beginning of my research when I was doing the Vedic square, and we got that symbol showing up in the center. What are the chances?
These aren't chances anymore.
No, they're not chances anymore. It's beyond coincidence. And this is also a ancient symbol for the sun.
It is. It represents the solstices and the equinox. They form a cross. It's the cross of God's son. The sun. Dude, this is mind-blowing stuff. I can't wait to get this out to everyone tonight.
Well, now that we have it in this shape, this might be the shape that we need in order to bend this to get a 3-dimensional object like we were talking about.
It would only make sense that it would lead back to such a simple point.
Exactly. But it could be the primer that we were talking about, just like in the movie Contact.
Contact, yeah, where everything just folds up.
Everything folded up, and then they got the information that they need.
Can't wait to see what you're going to do with this next, Garrick, man. Garrick, this is incredible.
I mean,
you have such a beautiful mind. I just love having you as a friend and having you on this channel. And my listeners love it. They love this stuff. They can't get enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I appreciate you saying all of that, too. It's,
I had to change the condom twice.
Well, it keeps going back to things like, when all this began, and I kept saying to my brother, why me? Why me? Like, I'm nobody. Why is this shit coming to me? And then I come across those phrases. In God, Garrett King is the chosen mathematician. Garrett King decodes the God matrix. And each one of those verses have the value of 1111. And it just keeps pointing to this being exactly what I'm doing. I'm using math. I'm using numbers to explain all of this.
And just to be clear, you don't read Hebrew.
I don't.
You're not a mathematician by any stretch of the imagination.
Nope.
You didn't believe in this when you first started it. You literally woke up seeing 333 on your alarm clock for like months. That's what started this whole thing.
Exactly. Well, for 11.
You gotta look at things differently, Garrick. It's not why me. Stop looking at it that way, because and guys, listen very carefully too, is that when you talk negatively about yourself out loud, your body physiologically, the physiology of your body does not understand sarcasm. Your body does not register that. So if you talk about yourself negatively, you're harming yourself spiritually. So instead of saying, why me, just say, why not me?
Exactly. And that could be, a lot of this could be exactly the reason. I don't know if you remember some of the messages that were coming through when I took all the numbers from the 1111 matrix code and did the ELS skip of the number 4, started getting those patterns like the pyramid and the cross, and all these messages that were coming through. And that one that really stood out to me was live in love without limit. This is the power. Live in love. Because when you stop and think about all these dimensions and all these unlimited possibilities, it's quite possible that when a man or woman kills another person, they're literally just killing themselves.
Yep, absolutely.
We have to love one another because we're loving ourselves. We are all the same thing.
This is a story of Jesus being the everyman.
Exactly. Exactly.
So Garrick, wow, man. This has been so wild. Coming up on an hour and 15. So do me a favor, let everyone know what your channel is so they can all come and subscribe and see you where you are on social media. If you feel like giving an email address out so people can reach out to you, totally up to you. Just let everybody know.
Okay. So my YouTube channel is 1111 Matrix Code. And then I have 2 Instagrams. One of them is, of course, 1111 Matrix Code. And the other one is I period T period C period underscore photography. That's my instrumental transcommunication Instagram site. I did give out an email address at one time, and I ended up with something like 40,000 emails coming through.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's not a lie. It's not a lie. There was
okay, so you don't
absolutely
have to do that, guys. If you have questions for him, email me.
or go through Instagram because I can get
Or
to
do
those
that. Yeah,
much quicker than I can 40,000 emails.
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing a presentation, someone saw the number on my emails and they said, "Really, is that how many emails you seriously have?" And I said, "Yeah, I cannot get through all of them. It's impossible." So even you emailing me tonight to send me the link to get onto StreamYard, I had to go through and literally search for your name because there's so many emails in there.
I'm
People
sorry. You need a new email address.
Yeah. But it's people seeing the exact same numbers, not understanding why, wanting to talk about their own experiences, which I totally get. And I would love to be able to read every single one of them. I'm only one person. It's impossible for me to go through all of it. And I feel bad. I would like to get to them. I'd like to respond to them, but it's impossible.
Jeez, man.
Well, it's impossible in this dimension.
That's right. That's what we're saying.
In one of these other dimensions, I've responded to you guys.
All right. Garrick, man, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to have this over to you very shortly.
Sure. Cool.
And we'll do this again. We'll keep in touch. You let me know your progress. I get so excited when I see your name text me.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did he figure out now? And it's usually something that makes me like drop my phone.
Definitely. I mean, anytime I find something, I send it to you anyway.
Yeah, I actually posted a video earlier today, and one of the girls that follow my channel literally wrote to me, and it was adorable. She was like, I was falling asleep last night, or I was trying to sleep, and I thought of Garrett King and when he's coming back on your channel.
She manifested it.
We did. We made it happen. All right, Garrick, I'll send it over to you. Thank you, bud. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please leave comments. Helps the algorithm. Comment. And don't forget, on Thursday, we're going to bum rush Morg's live stream, and we're going to get him to see my stuff. That's what we're going to do. Love you guys.